Good evening. It's 6 o'clock and determined we have a quorum with one member absent, and I will call the July 6, 2026 Wythe County Planning Commission meeting to order, and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance at this time.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Glad to have our visitors with us tonight, and our first item of business will be our public hearing. Stephen and Teresa Gross Close variance, and I'll entertain a report from staff at this time.
Okay, Stephen and Teresa Gross Close are proposing to combine their 3 parcels totaling 35.893 acres located along State Route 643 Old School Road in the Speedwell Magisterial District and subdivide approximately 30.593 acres off and sell it to the adjoining owners. Because Mr. and Mrs. Gross Close's remaining 5.3 acres does not have 100-foot state road frontage, and the proposed division of this property would leave a non-conforming lot, they are requesting a variance to Section 5.3.18 of the ordinance in order to proceed with this proposed division. Oh. Okay.
You cut us off on our end.
Yeah, I'm trying
Okay.
to, this one out here is not working. Is it back on? Okay.
Is it working out there, John?
Yeah, we're good.
Nobody here?
So the revised parcel B does not have any state road frontage, it just has road frontage off that private Wolf Den Lane.
Correct. This is what it'll look like when we're finished. These, it's these 3, correct, Bradley?
Yes.
That'll be combined.
Correct.
And you said they're being sold, so they just want to keep their house and 5 acres, is that what it is?
Their house and this surrounding piece right here. This house is actually his daughter's, if is that correct? And then he wants, the father wants to retain this, and he owns this. He's wanting to, all this will be one parcel and sold to the adjoining owner, which, this is the actual owner right here, right? And the adjoining will be, who's buying it, Bradley? I can't remember. Oh.
They will access it from the other property.
This will be, this right here's got Old School Road. This will be fine. It's this remaining piece here that will be off Wolf Den Lane,
Right.
which that's what it's got now.
You know, the old land lot, never had it, never will.
Right.
technically it's not landlocked since he owns it and owns the whole thing.
Well, let me pull it up on the map so it'll make more sense.
It will be landlocked as soon as he,
Well, it is landlocked.
A and B. It is landlocked right now, but he's vacating, and rearranging.
Okay. Zoom in.
5792.
Zoom in again.
So see, it's already landlocked. There's not, just Wolf Den Lane is all it's got. So they're gonna split it here, add this piece to these two pieces, which this one don't have, I mean, it's,
They don't have nothing.
right. And then this will all have Old School Road. This will still stay where it's at, and it doesn't have any road frontage anyway. Does that make more sense?
Any more questions for the staff? And,
And/or Bradley?
well, that's what I said, public comment, that's what I was
No, I
supposed
mean,
to.
I haven't heard any public comment, so that's a pretty easy decision here.
Mr. Tate wants to say anything, he's welcome to.
Yeah, Bradley Tate representing the landowner and the surveyor performing the survey. There is a existing 20-foot right-of-way as well on Wolf Den Lane, serving properties back there.
Yes, Wolf, I did confirm that. And that is not, it's not a state-maintained road or anything. It's just a 20-foot right-of-way.
Just wanted to point that out to you because they will be going through the tax map 72-4A. Two properties using that right of way to benefit their parcel, which they're already doing, and I believe they have the right to do as well. Just wanted to check. That's all I have.
Okay. Now, what's the planning commission or discussion?
You close the public hearing,
I've closed the public hearing.
move to approve it, sir.
Second.
I don't know what else you
It's
can
been
do.
moved or properly seconded.
Who seconded?
I
Yeah.
And we'll have a roll call vote from this way.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
it has been approved for the variance, Stephen and Teresa Gross Close. And
Simple enough.
you're free to do what they want to do with it.
Thank you,
And our next
Bradley.
item of
Thanks, Brad.
business
Thank you, Brad.
is our citizens' time. Mr. Kegley, like to address the board?
I would. It's about your work session on land use ordinance. So speak now.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry I missed your last meeting. I appreciate the YouTube video and comments and thoughtful discussion. I got 3 dangling points. I had asked, and I think you, Mr. Victor, had asked in the review, I think in my request, I was making a distinction between industrial and commercial. You all made the recommendation, I understand, to put data centers by special use in industrial zones. I was asking that it be taken out of commercial So that was just was a dangling thought.
The direction is to include them as special use in both.
Well, I stand by, I mean, if you have further consideration, I think it would behoove you to make commercial, because you got lots more land in commercial and places that people are going to be exposed to and upset about, that data centers and all those other things are allowed by special use permit. It does get for public hearing, and I appreciate that. I think the public would appreciate that. But one more step of protection would be to not allow it all. So the second point would be, back on an argument you all debated at length, the subject of the staff arm wrestling contest. I'm not an attorney and I don't see one in the room, but for the case for splitting industrial into public and private might hinge on precedents. Imagine a future planning commission and board of supervisors that is approached with a proposal for a data center in Progress Park. If this ordinance goes through, if it goes through, it is now going to have a public hearing and a special use permit, correct? And a future board, a future planning commission might say, no, we don't want it. Think then about the developer and his attorney sitting in the room, and he's going to point over to lot 35 and say, well, you already have one in Progress Park. So that's why I think a Progress Park industrial zone public is different than a industrial zone private out in Foster Falls or Rural Retreat or Speedwell or something. That's my issue, that, you know, the precedents would be there in the same district. And then the third question is kind of similar about land use attorneys or something. I'm just curious. I mean, maybe you are doing this with the draft map, but what are you going to do with the ROG property? Eastern Barry Grants Forge, Topaz Drive exit. It would be zoned today as agriculture, but there's a proposal to develop it as a data center. So I don't know how you address that, because that could come up other places in the county too. That today it's drafted as agriculture. It's probably grandfathered, I get it. But what do you do with that on the map? Looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Kegley. Anyone else that'd like to address the board? All right. If no one else wants to speak, we'll close citizens' time and we'll go to the next item, the minutes of our prior meeting. Or prior meetings. Continuation of meetings. I read it through them. I didn't see anything, but did anybody else catch anything? It was.
Mr. Chairman, I moved that we approve the minutes from the June 2nd meeting.
A second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the prior minutes of the last meeting. And everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And our next item of business will be our subdivision ordinance report. Mrs. Shelton.
First one I have is Cripple Creek Ag Solution recently conveyed .248 acres to their adjoining owner, Loretta Ann Vaughn. Simultaneously, Ms. Vaughn conveyed 0.190 acre from tax map 8381A to 8381 Through a lot line revision, Ms. Vaughn combined her property of 77.966 acres with the .248 and the .190 acres, and the 6.564, making the new parcel 84.968 acres. This subdivision leaves a 10.636 acre residual that will be used as agricultural. Revised parcel A will be used as residential, and new parcel B will be used as agricultural. All parcels will be served by private water and private sewer, and this plat was recorded June 1st.
Yeah, that revised 10.6 acre lot is where the Noble iron ore furnace is located on. Yeah, that was a former mine property, the Virginia Iron Ore Coal and Coke Company. Any questions for staff on this one?
Sir.
If not, we'll continue on.
Irvin and Sandra Brockman, through a lot line revision, combined their three properties of 4.158 acres, 3 acres, and .60 acres, making the parcel 7.758 acres. Simultaneously, Mr. and Mrs. Brockman, through an adjoining owner division, divided off 5.75 acres to sell to James and Melissa Story. This subdivision leaves a 1.73 acre residual that will be used as residential agricultural, and the new parcel of 5.75 acres will be used as residential agricultural. Both parcels are being served by private water and private sewer, and this plat was recorded June 4th. And I forgot to put in my report that this was the one that we'd done the variance on.
Yeah, I recognized it. Any questions for staff? If not, we'll continue on.
Okay. Patsy Watson recently conveyed 1.110 acres to her adjoining owner, Scout Reynolds and Jackson McManus, making the residual parcel 99.734 acres. Simultaneously, Ms. Reynolds and Mr. McManus, through a lot line revision, combined their property of 1.110 acres with their property of 2.874 acres, making the new parcel 3.984 acres. This subdivision leaves a 99.734 acre residual that will be used as agricultural, and the new parcel of 3.984 will be used as residential. Both parcels are being served by private water and private sewer, and this plat was recorded June 16th.
Any questions for staff? If no questions on that one, that will end the subdivision ordinance report. And our next item of business will be our coming events on the calendar.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, August is one of my favorite months. No holidays.
And what date's the yard sale? 21 yard sale, 20?
I think it's the last, this is the last weekend?
It's either the third or the fourth weekend, and I don't have that one in my head.
Be the 25th and the 24th, 25th, and 26th then. Everybody be careful on 21.
Yep.
If no other questions on the upcoming calendar, our next item of business will be a county engineer report. Mr. Kinser.
Right now, we're just got started today, working on the Apex or Hitachi Energy Arena again.
I'll be around with the jar to put your dollar in.
Again,
I'll be around with the jar to put your dollar in.
I didn't get in on that.
You say the A word, you're in.
I've been beating my head against this wall since I've been, anyway. The ponds, are not in the final stormwater, configuration. So Landon's guys have been working, they poured rooms and pipe. They patched some holes and took out the dewatering devices. They started putting in emergency spillways. And they've also put some material down, to do the four bays and the, oh, there's, I don't know how many ponds are there now, 5 or 6 still. So that's mainly what we've been working on. We did approve the, plans for the data center. They go back to DEQ now. They gotta get the letter of coverage and the, can't remember there's another acronym they gotta get before they'll be turned loose. That's about all I've been working on.
So was any storm damage at Brewer Creek Lake this past weekend? I heard there was a pretty bad windstorm on Saturday.
We had one tree partially fall in one of the camping areas. It didn't fall completely. It was more of a this, not a this. So they brought in I think they went to Jarvis and had him come over and take that one down so there weren't hazards to our campers. We were full on camping this weekend. So there were either a 10 or 2 that blew off from their moorings from some of the vendors. Some of our folks who were there sheltered in an ambulance. They're in the just below shelter 2. Overall, that came out about as good as it could for a pop-up storm that just has a real sudden intensity like that. No serious injuries that I'm aware of, so
That's good.
we're grateful for that.
I guess they got the pH level fixed in the pool. Heard the pool's back open. I remember last meeting you said it was.
Yeah, we've been open all June, and but there's an issue with the chlorine feeder, so they're having to manually monitor the chlorine, but haven't had any issues.
Anything else, Mr. Kinser? And our next item will be our ex officio report by Mr. Burnett.
So we had a joint meeting with the town of Wytheville, and I believe the town of Royal Tree. Unfortunately, I missed that one because work deemed as important. And that's for everything that, it was the first one in over 5 years that I was aware of. And everything went good from what I heard. We're hoping to have more of those joint meetings. The very next day, we finalized our budget based off of the numbers we had from the state, and which we didn't, as far as I know, we didn't change it much from what we had previous versions of a week or so before. Because again, work deemed as important, I ended up missing that one too. Which I do not like missing my meetings. It's not something I like to do. And then there's really not a whole lot other than that. Because once budget winds down, we start winding down on other things as well. Unless y'all had any questions.
Any news on the cannery?
July 17th. They're waiting on it. It's installed. They're waiting on inspection. Which that's a state that has to come in and
Yes.
inspect that. So
That'll be good.
they don't get in a hurry for nothing.
Now my wife won't have to go to Mechanicsburg and Blaine County.
Yep.
It was a new boiler they put in?
Yes. Yep. It was a new boiler.
How long had the old one been in there? 40 years?
Or at least 40, 50.
I figured.
Yep. And
So,
There's some things you just look at and you see the age, you know, that one was.
you can only fix so much.
Yep.
Well, what you got, yeah.
Now, you mentioned the budget. I know on Channel 7 News, I've heard that Montgomery County Public Schools said they've overrun, and Roanoke City Public Schools is overrun, and Franklin County's overrun. How are we on our situation with our funding?
so because there's lots of numbers that go into it, but we lost some students, so our state funding went down. And overall, we ended up funding our school additional $750,000 from last year's funding, but $2.7 million was added to it to keep their funding the same. So that came out of our portion, whereas that used to come from the state the year before. If I ain't mistaken. That was the gist of it.
There are some carryover funds from the schools for this year, so they didn't overspend.
But yes, well, our schools didn't overspend. They do a fantastic job. Dr. Poole did a fantastic job. We are very pleased. And we have a decent working relationship with the school board.
Any other questions for Mr. Burnett? If nothing else for Mr. Burnett, our next item will be our Deputy County Administrator report, Mr. Hankins.
Don't have an awful lot for you, Mr. Chairman. You asked about the festival earlier. For the first time back in 14 years, I think the festival came off very well. We had a lot of people out for live music. We didn't know what to expect for our fun run. Our Parks and Rec Director, Alicia Sides, I think had 60 numbers, and they had to make additional numbers for the fun run. We're still trying to formulate a reasonable estimate on how many people were there for the fireworks. I'm going to say somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000, but we're still trying to get a good count. We do have some drone footage, both that we took on staff and that we had a contractor there shooting professional footage. And you might have seen on social media the county posted from Mountain Cap Media some footage of the fireworks reflecting in the lake. I thought it was a really nice job on their part to get that the way that they did. If you haven't, look it up, because it's pretty cool to view. It's about a 30-second clip. We wanted some marketing materials for next year, and so we'll have a meeting later this week to debrief, get some good ideas on what happened, what could have gone better. We do have a budget. The board has set aside funding for the festival next year, so we've got to decide, do we do one day, do we do multiple days? So we would welcome your input on that, if you've got that. I know Ms. Lyle was there. Thank you for the food, by the way. It was delicious. But when you're working on a festival and setting things up, it's nice to have people who offer you food who actually like you and want to make sure you're taken care of.
It was a wonderful event, and I commend everyone who had a part of it, and everyone who was there working that day, because I know it was extremely hot, and but I thought it was wonderful.
We had to do a few logistical changes. Sometimes you don't have everybody that you're expecting, or you have to cover something that you weren't expecting. told Mr. Burnett earlier, we had the fireworks were about an hour later than they were expected to be, and there were 4 things that contributed to that. Some of the neighbors were shooting fireworks. A deputy had to be sent and asked them not to shoot fireworks in case anything hot fell down onto our fireworks. There were people who parked in the blast zone who had to be asked to move because they were too close to the fireworks. The fire marshal's office had to inspect, and so either because of late setup from the contractor or because the fire marshal got there late, I don't know which one it was, but you know, there was a delay caused by the fire inspection. And then, as frequently happens with products shipped from overseas, there was some frustrating packaging on some of the fireworks. So that took a little bit longer for them to get into some of the packaging than they had anticipated. But the folks who stayed had a really great time. You know, I heard a lot of laughter, a lot of cheers, a lot of folks who really enjoyed it, who were glad to have the festival back. There were a lot of folks from out of the county who were there for the event. The vendors that I talked to all seemed pretty happy. A lot of folks were happy with the band and the variety and the musical selection. Most of the online criticism that we saw was related to the timing of the fireworks, or people who just drove in for the fireworks and were unhappy they were able to get a front row seat or you know, be able to get in there easily. You know, when you've only got one way in and one way out, it's going to be challenging from a traffic standpoint. Lisa saw me, didn't run over me. I was out at the main road directing traffic with some of our CERT volunteers and our emergency services director. Traffic moved fairly quickly, and you know, sometimes you get people that forget to turn on their headlights or that don't follow directions very well or just aren't paying attention. So we had a little frustration with that, but you know, all told, it wasn't any worse than a lot of Friday night football games or other large events. You know, it was relatively easy. We spent a lot of time there, but in the end, with the payoff in the community, you know, seeing what the county is willing to do and you know, coming together and being part of that, I'm pretty happy with it overall. But we would appreciate any input that you've got. Like I say, I've got a list already of things that we might consider changing for next year. So we'll start immediately planning for next year. There could possibly be a larger musical act or something like that we might want to pursue, you know, to make it a larger event. We have some ideas on ways that we can improve the parking situation. There's just a lot of things to consider. So if you've got anything, I'd appreciate you sharing that. If we can take it up and do it, we'll do it. If not, we'll let you know why.
I didn't think traffic was bad. I mean, I was as far at the end of the line as you could get, and I think we waited 35, 40 minutes, which wasn't bad at all.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I didn't think it was bad. I mean,
Of course, you got the other way out the backside of the lake. It goes back out on Cedar Springs Road.
Yeah, but we can't send most people back that way. It does run by the camping, so that's a concern too.
be a lot of dust.
No, not by the camping. I mean, out on the state maintained road back over to 749.
We were sending people that way.
Yeah.
So we had, the traffic came out probably 60% turned right to go back toward the rural retreat side, about 40% turned left to go back toward the Smith County or the Speedwell side. So all told, not terribly difficult to manage. It just takes time.
The only thing I can think to suggest would be right there where the music and stage was, if there was a way to get some shade there. It would have been difficult to sit out and listen to music.
There's a very strong possibility that we'll rent a stage and have it on the lower side down closer to the volleyball pits so that folks can use that sort of natural amphitheater. We didn't really have time to get that set up this time. So if we do that, I feel like there will be more shade for the attendees than there is for the performers. We can always do something over the stage to provide shelter for the performers, but it's a little harder to do that for the crowd. So, the further we can get them up the hill, closer to the shade, I think the better off we'll be. Hopefully next year it's not, 98 degrees when things start out, but even then, once we start to get some shade in areas of the lake, people were able to find shelter and cool down some.
Is the thought to continue doing the third so that it doesn't interfere with whatever Wythe's doing, or to combine the events?
My preference would be to continue to do it on the 3rd. Wythe does a really nice, event on the 4th. The Rural Retreat event is different and distinct and separate, and, I'd like for us to do something, leading up to the 4th. There's plenty of other events to compete with, but if we can do something distinctive there, I think we'll be in a good space.
How was your attendance on Saturday compared to what it was in downtown Whitfield?
I'm not sure what downtown Wythe has published as far as their.
I didn't come to either one. I was busy.
We intended for Saturday to be a much lighter day at the lake. We still did the fun run. We did some concerts. You still had the vendors there. The pool was open. So we had intended, though, not to compete with Wythe. We expect a lot of people are just going to naturally gravitate toward that, either because they want to stroll around downtown with a drink, or there's just more family events for them to do, or something that appeals to their particular interest. So why compete?
Well, as long as you have attendance.
We got money from the state to market our grant and the downtown Wythe event, so we were able to share that resource. I'd like to do that again because I think it worked pretty well. I think we got pretty good response out of it.
As long as you do something different, they can go to either one,
So even,
Well, 3 days was a strain. So we have had some changes in our Parks and Recreation staff. We had a resignation, and then another staff member that left. So a lot of this was on our director to help put together. She's very experienced and very good at this. I like the depth of the planning that she did for this event. I think it really showed what her skills are. Next year we'll have more staff. We should have a little bit more experience in how to put this on, and so we'll probably involve some other volunteer groups and agencies in things like parking. It would help to have more people directing people where to park. We did have some conflicts, again, because some people had to move late, and it was a fair number of cars. They had to be careful coming into the lake areas, because there were a lot of people that had their blankets out, or that were out with their families beside of vehicles, and so if it looked like there was a parking spot there and you tried to whip in, well, you might have been running over somebody. So fortunately we didn't have any of that, but there were some people that were concerned because that was a hazard.
I mean, as long as the vendors made some money, they would come back. That's the part that matters.
Well, I would probably prefer, going forward, that we had more of a midway style, have our vendors in a more concentrated area. This time they were pretty spread out, again, just because we didn't know exactly how the parking or the band attendance would be. I think, we can sort of use what we learned this year and set up accordingly next year, so that, vendors are a little more close together. If you're waiting in line for a hot dog and it takes you an hour to get your hot dog, you probably either ought to be looking at other vendors, or there were a lot, I think, that looked at other vendors and realized that it was going to be a long walk to them, and they just stay in line where they were. So some of those things it's hard to anticipate, but I think we've got some good experience from this, so we'll apply it to next year, and we'll plan accordingly for the next few months and start making some announcements.
But other than the vendors, everything else was free, right? Pretty much.
The pool was still,
Right.
you had to pay to get into the pool. I think everything else was free. We did a lot of crafts.
I mean,
We
you
had,
can't go wrong with free. I mean,
We had people who wanted to volunteer to do things. If you've seen Joe DeBoard come to our board meetings, he's the older gentleman on the
rollator.
rollator. You know, he wanted to tell stories, spooky stories around the campfire. So, you know, there are opportunities for folks who want to participate in things with us, and I think it's good to involve more members of the community.
Yeah.
Other than the July 4th event, we've had a pretty busy month. As Mr. Burnett said, we did have the joint governing bodies meeting. One of the things that we were able to do by having our board meeting in the day on June 30th is we were able to do some touring on some of our county facilities. Sorry, I'm also emergency director today, so I may have to go here in a minute. We were able to go out onto the connector road, the new road by Pepsi, going back into Progress Park, see what sort of progress they've made on that. They informed us during the joint governing bodies meeting that they anticipate that they'll finish summer or early fall of next year with that road. If you've been out to Lee Trinkle Drive, you've probably seen the new connector road is coming from the west side. Gatorade is connecting to Lee Trinkle from their side, so there will be an intersection there. Where Gatorade will be able to get some of their trucks in and out of there easier. So it'll meet one of its intended purposes very early. They do have base asphalt down for about, I'm going to say roughly half. They're not too Lover's Lane, but they're not far from it with that road. So we saw a lot of equipment working, but we also got very heavy rain that day. If you saw the land spout, water spout pictures around Wythe from that day, we were probably out in it. It was coming down hard on us, so we got to see the connector road, even though the rain was coming down heavy, and then we toured through and viewed some of the other industrial sites close by. So it's a good opportunity for some members of the board to be able to get out and look at those. The joint governing bodies meeting, there were some updates on some transportation projects from VDOT. They're looking at some additional climbing lanes. They're looking, if you go toward Bland, Mr. Midkiff will probably be glad to hear that they're looking at an additional climbing lane heading toward the tunnel. Going up, I think they said starting marker 43. Once you come out of that long straight stretch and start up the hill, the extra climbing lane there would be useful. Now, it might not be done before you are ready to retire, but they at least are getting ready to start it. Hopefully that will help also with some of the Saturday traffic backups that happen from the tunnel.
That's what happens. Those trucks get to going like that up through there on summertime, and the people going back home up Ohio and Michigan and Indiana.
Well, they're stopping the tunnel.
Everybody leaves Myrtle Beach at 7:30 or 8 in the morning, and when they get to Wythe in the early afternoon, they back traffic down. So.
And the trucks now had 3 lanes. At least the cars could get around the trucks. It may help some. It will, but
you would hope
it's not going to help the ones that do 15 miles an hour in the tunnel.
No, or stopped. Yeah.
The new climbing lane at mile marker 30 does seem to be making a difference in clearing out some of the traffic hazards. There were 81 and 77 split. There's still a lot of people getting used to that, though. Most truck climbing lanes, you're used to having an extra lane on the right, and this one you have an extra lane on the left. So people are having to go left to get around the truck traffic, and some of the truck traffic is even going left and defeating the intended purpose of the climbing lane. But they also talked about the Monroe Street and Lee Highway project, you know, probably seen where that's underway, where the Italian Garden used to be. There were a lot of people who thought that was supposed to be a roundabout. It's realigning that intersection, so it's going to be an aligned four-way intersection, not a roundabout. So if you were nervous about roundabouts being in town, just wait. I'm sure there'll be opportunity. Yes, it's just not going to be right there.
Just like years ago when they opened that one up and down at Daleville, exit 150. This is the first roundabout in Southwest Virginia. I sent the reporter an email saying, there's been one at Wythe Community College since the mid-'60s.
Yeah.
Do your research.
Seemed like there was another transportation project. Oh, if you've not noticed, they have opened mile marker 41, the new northbound entrance onto 77. The northbound side is open. They're still working on the southbound side coming off of 77. So, but they're making progress.
Yeah, the first morning they had that open, and I was there at 4:30 in the morning, and it's dark, and it was kind of hard to see, so I had to pay attention to what I was doing.
I'm sure you thought, yeah, where'd my entrance go?
What about the internet in the southeast part of the county?
Still working. One of the holdups was for Red Hollow Road. So while the truck climbing lane was being constructed, Citizens wasn't able to work in that area. VDOT said no. Then VDOT told Citizens they could go to work. They got ready to, and then VDOT said, no, hold up. We've got another delay for you. So I've asked VDOT to resolve that, and they have. So they've given Citizens the go-ahead to go back and work in that area. Red Hollow was one of those long stretches that needed to be reached before they got to the end of this project. So I believe they did get a very short extension. I think they've got to be done now by the end of August with their primary construction for it to qualify for repayment through their grant. So we're relying on them to make every effort. They were still working on Miller's Creek, still working on Pepper's Ferry. There were some of the streets or some of the roads that need to be infilled. So they've been working on those, and they've laid on, I think it's an additional 2 or 3 crews. I think they're up to 5 crews working now to try to get that done in time. So the good news is, if folks are not reached as part of this project, they did get an additional funding round through BEAD. It's the federal dollars that were approved for reaching the customers that were hardest to reach. So if somebody doesn't get served in this round, there will still be an opportunity for them. And I think Citizens is working really hard to try to bring new customers on. You saw them at our public input session at Fort Chisholm. The fact that the CEO of the company came out and was there trying to help sell residents on getting the service. That I think was a really good effort on their part. As far as other utilities go, the 52 sewer project is up and operating now. So for the first time ever, the EMS station there at Fort Chisholm doesn't have to rely on a septic tank. I'm sure Ms. Branscombe can tell us that was an unpleasant situation. It never seemed to work very well, and now we don't have to rely on it at all. So it's nice to see that they're in place taking care of those crews. That does free up some ability to develop in that area as well. So we are working on some other utility projects. Some of you have probably been contacted about the Siloam Shadow Lane project. As Shadow Lane has developed, more and more houses have been added onto a 2-inch line. The 2-inch line has itself been extended out, and same size pipe, a whole lot more people wanting it means you got a whole lot less reliable water pressure. in that area. So we're trying to get a new pump station in place there to add volume and then increase the pipe size as well. So, yeah, there are a lot of those projects that need done. We've got some big projects that are coming up over the next few months that'll be out to bid. You know, trying to get folks water and wastewater services where we can reach them.
I know the water's gonna become if this drought lasts much longer, some people's water source is gonna be, private, it's gonna be drying up.
Yeah, I think, you know, we do have concern about the wells. You know, the folks that rely on municipal water from us or from the town of Wythe are in pretty good shape because of the water from the New River. We still have many millions more gallons of water flowing by that water treatment plant than we need in a day. So I believe that the current licensure is for 6, and we're expanding to 8 million gallons a day that we could take out of the river. And at its lowest, you know, you probably have seen maybe 270, 280 million gallons a day flowing by the Ivanhoe gauge. So we've got plenty of water. But, you know, I do feel for the farmers. If you've, you know, those of you who are in the business know, some of the fields that you're seeing being cut this week for the first time this year are yielding maybe 30 to 40% of what they would normally yield, and the first cut would have been 2 months ago, not in July. So I'm afraid for what that means for our cattle business this fall. You know, some of our livestock is, yeah, we're struggling. So folks that don't have hay put back, you know, it's going to be a concern. You know, they're probably going to be forced to sell a lot of head of cattle they wouldn't otherwise sell.
I mean, when you don't have water, you don't have a choice.
When you don't have hay or grass.
Yeah.
And we're already at a 70-year low on cattle mowing.
Yeah, just like the stream that runs by my house, Lake Spring Branch, that runs into Cripple Creek on Pope Road, down next to Eagle Furnace. It's already dried up, plumb back about a third of a mile back up from the creek. So no water. Any other questions for Mr. Hankins? I've got one question for you. I've come from Roanoke, or place farther north from Roanoke, 5 times in the last 3 weeks. And the car's coming off 77 on to 81, and where they extended the exit up to exit 80, I call it running the gauntlet. I wonder if VDOT can put some signs up to watch for emerging traffic, more additional signage. I about got run over twice.
We can ask. That's not managed by local VDOT, though. That's managed by the interstate side. So one of the things that I think would be helpful, you know, they put down those, what's the plastic called? The thermoplast signs, you know, designating the route numbers a few years ago. Those are pretty well worn off. That happens with pushing snow and, you know, just being driven over. But, you know, if they could do something to help remark the routes, particularly as they're doing some of these repaving projects, that would help some. For the folks that aren't familiar with that road, don't make their merge in time, either coming left or going right. Yeah, it does create.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming off there at 70, 75 miles an hour, and I'm trying to get over on the far right lane to get off at exit 80, and
the surprise is that we really don't have that many accidents there.
I'm glad we
But
don't.
we certainly have the
But
potential.
it's going to happen.
Well, it does happen. We just don't get a lot of them. Yeah, just keep your head on a swivel when you're going through.
Any other questions for Mr. Hankins? If none, we'll go to commissioner concerns. Any of the commissioners got questions or anything? Y'all are a quiet bunch.
Being good tonight.
Yes. Okay.
There you go.
And
So we got things to say.
no commissioner concerns. We'll go to the next item of business, our land use ordinance review.
Well, let me give you some good news and some bad news. Depends on your perspective. Because of the projects that we've had going on and the short turnaround between the 22nd and when your agenda went out, I've not got a lot done based on the direction that you provided. So with your permission, Lisa and I would like some time to sit down and go through, make sure that we get it closer to right rather than rushing it. If you desire to do so, we can hold a work session later in July. The Board of Supervisors has signaled that if you want to do that, they're willing to come and treat that more as a joint session. Or if you want to give us more time, we can work into August and do it at your next regular meeting.
We're not on any kind of time frame for this,
No,
are we?
But
We've had no official times
I mean,
set.
Jesse, I mean, I'm asking you.
I would like to know when we're gonna get this thing on board, bottom line. I mean, we've been on it a year, so.
And the citizens are wanting to know when this is going to come up
I
for
agree
a
with that too,
vote.
but we need to make sure we do this right.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna make some mistakes and we're gonna learn from them.
Absolutely.
But-
And I got a question on that, is, because I've been doing some studying the last 2 or 3 weeks on this. And the framework set upon this is permissive or prohibitive. And the terminology is a little bit backwards what it means. The permissive is you give what they can do and all the other tasks or allowances are restricted. The prohibitive is you dictate what can't be done and everything else is by rights. Is that something allowed by state, you could do that? Because that would streamline this thing completely by anything that we don't restrict is by rights. And we don't have to have 2 different columns on this thing. Is that something that, now, what I've read is the zoning largely is permissive. But it seems like this was kind of a combination of the two, kind of squeezed together. You've got 2 different columns. Am I understanding that correctly, or?
I'd say that's a good read on it.
And, but like I said, I just thought the prohibitive, not a lot of them do it, but I just wondered if that could be a standalone thing, where prohibitive says you can't do this without either, coming before the zoning, getting a special use, or a change in the zoning itself. But everything else is by rights. So you don't have these little, like when we got these lists this long and what they're allowed to do, we get away with that, get rid of that and go strictly what we don't, or what we're trying to keep from. And the rest of it's by rights. That would streamline this thing completely, to me. Now, I could be wrong, because I'm no attorney either, and I'm not sure if all this is the legalities of it. I'm not sure if that's legal. But like I said, it just seemed like me, what we was talking about, to streamline it, make it easier to understand, easier to do. Because, I've talked to several people, the biggest thing is I'm worried about us missing something that we didn't need to miss that takes a right away from somebody's property. That bothers me more than anything. Because we've got the subdivision ordinances, they cover pretty much everything that they do. We've got building code that take care of any kind of building. We've got rules and regulations that cut about everything. I just don't want to I want to make sure we do this right, where we're not hindering the people's private property rights. And with the same stipulation, keeping control of solar panels, data centers, or whatever we want to control. Which it might be where we'd have to put a blanket thing over all the districts, whether it be from residential to industrial. But you could do a blanket like that. I'm just asking. I know this is kind of late in the game to bring something up like this, but it just kind of hit me last week, or the last meeting. And I started doing some studying on this thing, and I just wanted to bring that up for food for thought.
My Emory and Henry law degree isn't serving me very well, so generally, yes, you can take either track that you want to take. If you want to approach it more from the prohibitive side, I think you're looking at essentially restarting the process. I think that would take a pretty significant rewrite, but it is your starting document. So if the planning commissioners tell me that that's the tack you want to take, I can tell the board of supervisors that's the direction you want to go, and that we're going to look at new language. I would love to have a model, if you've got a good model out there, that if you've.
Well, see, the majority of the, municipalities and all that, they use the permissive. But like I said, most of them stipulate what you can't do, or what you can do, and then the rest is prohibited without special permit. And we've kind of got a combination here. It's kind of got the two, you've got permissions, you've got prohibitations, but like I said, my biggest thing is, I just thought it'd be streamlined if we didn't have anything restrict, as far as anything that we prohibit, everything else is automatically by rights. So if you got that, you want that little chicken coop we was talking about the last time. If it's not on the prohibited side of it with special use, you wouldn't even have to get a variance or anything. And like we was talking about the little homesteading situation where they have a little personal farm, and that's kind of the terminology I'd kind of incorporate what I was looking at as homesteading. And it's basically for that resident, and that's basically the terminology it was using. But that's kind of the reason I brought it up, because, I just want to make sure we do this right.
If it was the pleasure of the planning commission to go down that route, then we would have to have some work sessions on, or at least one, on what would you want to include in that list of prohibitions. And I think you've probably already got to start on that, but there probably needs to be some thought put into, are there other prohibitions, things that we're concerned about? You can always amend the ordinance if
But
there
then
are things that come up later that you want to
for
prohibit.
an open public session before you can amend it, correct?
Yes.
So you get a chance for the, public to put their input in. Now, to me, we went on the basis of this thing when we started to try to maintain and control all these energy companies and all this other stuff coming out. That seems to me to be, if you did start this thing or kind of get the wheels rolling, that's where you would start it, is that would be across the board. And if you had special use on all those, it would have to come for the zoning appeals or whatever to get a special use permit to let this go forward. And if it wasn't approved, it could. But anything you would change in it, if you set the framework like that, just like it is now, anything that's not in it's got to come before us, or the board or whoever. But everybody have a chance to voice, have an open public meeting to voice a change of any kind. And that's kind of why I brought it up. Other than that, I'll kind of keep my mouth quiet.
My thoughts are if the Board of Supervisors would like to meet with us for a work session, because I think that gets us both together, where we're at. Because we have a lot of citizens who don't want to keep seeing things coming in because we've got nothing to help them. And we're worried about our water resources, because that's the one thing that I'm getting a lot of calls on, is, keeping our resources, not just our water, but our resources where they need to be. So I'm of the thought, if the Board of Supervisors would like to meet with us, that puts us all together. Because we've been working on this for a long time, and I get calls every day of, well, when is the Board of Supervisors going to vote on this? Because people want to protect the county or what they have.
The data center proposed in the eastern end of the county, it has no access to public water, correct?
Not currently, no.
Are they going to drill wells or have access to county water? Because if they're going to drill wells, then they need to have everyone's wells tested within a mile area, and because they're going to draw down big time water.
I would say that we are not far enough along in that process for surety, but I would think that they would have to have a public source of water for fire protection. That would be the key thing. Usually when you see 12-inch water lines around these, it's for providing fire protection, not for usable water. So have you seen?
On the plans, they propose a 3-inch force main, and we do have a casing down there that would handle that, so that means there's not a lot of people there. But the plans show 12-inch water lines all the way around, so that's not available. They'll have to tap into our 10-inch water line with a bore 12-inch line. It's way too big for that.
Well, and we're not far enough along in the approval process yet to say with certainty, but I would think that, you know, public water is going to be their better fire protection option.
I mean, I've heard rumors, people, they're gonna drill wells. And I think, there's no way that they could, you talk about big-time wells. That, I don't want that to happen, because
How
people.
far does Pulaski County come up from exit 89 with their public water?
I don't know if it comes back to the golf course or not.
I was just curious, because, do what?
There's a tank on that hill right there.
I know an interconnect between Pulaski County and Wythe County has been discussed in the past, but I don't think there's any momentum for that.
It's depends on that data center, whoever gets it, as a closed loop or the open system on the water.
Well, if they're like solar, it'll be sold 4 times before it ever gets going.
That does seem to be the way the business works.
And Johnny, you made a comment about them tapping onto your line. They would only, it would be a dedicated line only to them and to no one else?
We would most likely supply water down Topaz to some of those folks.
Okay, because you've heard rumors in Georgia, that all of a sudden that the line was only dedicated to the data center and not anywhere else.
Internet, the planes we've seen, it's not a big water user. The one out here is 2,800 gallons a day.
The one, you're talking about the one proposed in progress, that one.
Yeah, because it's a closed loop system,
I mean, that,
like a,
There's a cooling tower technology that the old ones have. Don't use that no more. They use big chillers and cool
and don't have the water usage, but it will have.
The example is the closed loop system that we have at the arena, the Hitachi Energy Arena.
On the permit, it says 8.
So that's 14 miles of pipe under that 200 by 85 foot section, you know, very closely spaced, that control the temperatures, and it would be a similar sort of setup here for this closed loop system.
It's like a home geothermal unit.
Some similarities, yes.
Yeah. I mean, some of them, my brother has, his is buried lines. And there's some people that have a well dedicated only to that. They don't have the land wherever they're located at. They drill a well, go that route.
They're not proposing any ground source geothermal stuff. It's on the pre-on chillers stuff.
So what are we gonna do? We're gonna come back
If you'd
in a
like to
few
set
weeks?
if you'd like to set a date for a future work session, we can circulate that to the board and see if it works for them.
and I know Susan's proposed as a joint meeting with the board and us in that work session. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think that would be a good idea. Just have to work out the logistics.
Yeah. That's why I was looking at Mr. Hankins to see what works on his schedule, because he's got 3 hats right now.
If you want to stick with Mondays, we could try to get something done in 2 weeks and meet on the 20th, or could look at the 27th. Or we could circulate those days to the board if they work for everybody here, just to see which ones work better, or which one works better for the board. Board has its regular meeting on the 28th.
Good with either day.
Works for me, either date.
Either day.
All right, if it suits the commissioners, we'll circulate both days to the board and see which one suits.
Either the 20th or the 27th.
Hey, Lisa, that's Bobby's.
So, are you out the whole week, Mr. Freeman? Are you out that whole week?
Who, me? Waiting to see what the doctor says.
I'll circulate it with the 27th as the preferred date and the 20th as fallback date. I'd like to have you here, but it may be that I have to go without you here, so.
Well, I can call the doctor and cancel my procedure. Make
I'd
no
rather you
difference to
didn't.
me.
If you need to go see your doctor, go see your doctor.
Make a crap to me. I ain't never had it done before.
There's probably brain surgery in it.
That won't take long.
Yeah. Oh, no.
On that note,
I didn't go there now.
You opened the door.
I did that. Yeah.
Aren't you proud? I was so quiet over
I
here.
know, but I saw you throwing money their way.
Mr. Hankins, I would miss the 20th and the 27th. I'll out of town for vacation the week of the 20th and work for the 27th. So, but I could Zoom in if that's a possibility or whatever. I don't want to mess up the whole schedule just for me. I could call in.
and it may be that we don't have enough on the board that can
Yeah.
do either day, but I think if I can get at least 5 of you here, we should probably go ahead just in the interest of time.
I think we need to get, it needs to move. It needs to move. And I think we're smart enough, or 7 of them.
Smarter without me.
6 of them are smart enough to make it work.
Are you saying I'm the weakest link anyways?
No,
It'll be all
according
right.
to Mr. Cantor over there.
Because, I mean, whatever we decide, it's on them to decide at the
It's
end.
on- it's-
That's
it's
exactly
Board of
right.
Supervisors going to have to make the final decision.
Yes, sir.
But we need to give them the best presentation that we possibly can so that they can make a decision one way or the other. Amen.
Yep. I mean, we're appointed, they're elected. They're the ones they're the ones in the hot seat, not more so than us.
With all of them together, we can need a meeting that you already
Probably we'll try to meet in here just because of public interest. I think, you know, we have more available seating in here.
We'll just each sit on our supervisor's lap.
We will probably do it the way that we do with the school board. We'll have tables set up here for the planning commission and have the board at the dais and have it as a conversation between you all.
Fair enough. As long as we have something. Can't keep kicking this can down the road. We've got to do something. Because people are wanting stuff done in certain parts of the county.
Well, thank you all for your patience, and we'll try to get something set.
Well, Susan, how's the solar? You still got drones and lights in your eyes?
Oh, yeah.
Johnny, why don't you take care of that?
But now she's taking her sheep.
The zones and
Cow,
the
sheep, I mean, what's the difference?
lights in her eye, can't you shoot them out?
Have a drone show
Born
at
and
least
raised
once or
in-
twice a week from now.
George Wythe education.
No, actually, it started to return.
They're doing construction again.
What about all the sheep on her?
They bleed nonstop.
Have it eaten down to the dirt, Johnny?
Yeah. Yeah. Have they fixed the,
I knew that was going to happen.
Have they fixed the
If you
pond?
congregate those animals
Have they fixed
somewhere
the
where
pond?
you're watering at one spot, right, Andy? You're going to eat it off.
afraid I'll probably get another call.
Not to sound mean, but I hope that's any minute. We need the
We
rain.
need the rain, but I don't want it to wash the water out here. I mean, our water gets out and the neighbor out because it wasn't done correctly the first time. Mr. Chairman, would you entertain a motion to adjourn?
Well, I've got a question.
Oh, no.
Since,
I
Normally we
would
were-
suggest you recess to a
Recess.
date
I
to be
was gonna
announced.
say, could we recess since we don't know what the date is? That's what I was gonna ask.
I believe you can recess to a date to be announced later in July.
And I'll move to take a recess on our planning commission meeting to a future predetermined date that'll be determined by board of supervisors and county administration.
I'll second.
Do a roll call vote. This has been seconded.
She seconded.
Yes, she did. She seconded it. Aye. And we are recessed to a yet to be determined date.